In this particular example, we've been given a function which describes the height of an individual on the Ferris wheel with respect to time. That function is h equals -8 times the sine of pi divided by 12t plus 10. I've just made a rough little sketch off on the right-hand corner of this particular function. It's a sinusoidal function. Its sinusoidal axis is going to be at 10, and its amplitude is going to be 8. H is on the vertical axis, and t is on the horizontal axis. When we take the derivative of this function, we have to be careful to use the chain rule. Our h prime is going to be equal to -8 cosine of pi over 12 times t times d dt of pi divided by 12t. That's the derivative of the inner portion. We end up with -8 times the cosine of pi divided by 12t times pi divided by 12. I'm now just going to multiply the -8 and the pi divided by 12. That would give me a -8 pi over 12, which can be reduced to a -2 pi over 3. So we end up with h prime equaling -2 pi divided by 3 times the cosine of pi divided by 12t. So what we're asked then to do is figure out the slope of the tangent line at t equals 3 and t equals 10. So we'll start with when t is equal to 3. It's merely a matter of substituting in 3 for t. We'll have on our first line -2 pi divided by 3 times the cosine of pi divided by 12 times 3. Well, 3 times pi divided by 12 would give me a 3 pi divided by 12, which can be reduced to a pi divided by 4. The cosine of pi divided by 4 can be found using our unit circle, and we end up with a √2 divided by 2. So we have now -2 pi divided by 3 times a √2 divided by 2, which gives us a -√2 pi divided by 3, and the units of measure would be meters per second. If you wanted to express this as a decimal, it would be -1.48 meters per second. When t is equal to 10, you are merely taking the derivative and substituting 10 in for t. 10 times the pi divided by 12 is going to give us a 10 pi divided by 12, which can be reduced to a 5 pi divided by 6. The cosine of 5 pi divided by 6 can be found using your unit circle, and you'll find that it's equal to -√3 divided by 2. So now we have -2 pi divided by 3 times -√3 divided by 2, and that gives us √3 times pi divided by 3 meters per second. If you wanted to express that as a decimal, it would be 1.81 meters per second. The last thing they ask you in this question is, what do the slopes of the tangent lines represent? Some of you may rush to an answer and assume that it is merely the velocity of the individual as he moves around the Ferris wheel, but I caution you against this. Although the units are meters per second, what we're looking at is the instantaneous rate of change of the height with respect to time. If you wanted to use the word velocity, it could be done as long as you limited yourself to the vertical component of velocity, which I think a lot of kids would forget to do. So it's probably just easier to recognize that both of these rates of change are the instantaneous rate of change of the height with respect to time.